Welcome back to round number 2 of Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. This is Travis Cooper from Portland Paper, and I'm hanging out with...
Justin Hadley.
And we're gonna watch a potentially very grindy match here. We might have sort of a battle of Tireless Tracker versus Bloodbraid Elf. We have Nat Crosman on the Rock battling Robert Santos on Jund.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tireless Tracker. I'm looking forward to seeing that card in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm curious what the deck lists are going to be. It seems like I've seen some recent Jund lists that are running Tireless Tracker as well over Bloodbraid Elf, or like maybe in conjunction with some kind of 3-2, 2-3 split on that one. And yeah, both of these decks are playing some Liliana, some Hand Disruption, Tarmogoyfs, very similar
Scavenging
decks.
Oozes.
Yep. We do have the Lightning Bolt, which is going to be maybe relevant in Robert's deck here, a little bit more removal.
Yeah, and the K commands as well, which may or may not be quite as relevant, but killing a Tireless Tracker and making him discard a card seems pretty okay.
And do you think there's a favored deck in the matchup, or is it just very 50-50?
I'm not 100% sure, since they both play the Goyfs. They both kind of like operate on the same axis, but I do really like the Rock. The Rock usually plays some number of, I don't think they play Ghost Quarter, but they usually play some number of Field of Ruins, which can definitely turn Jund off of their red.
And we have an Inquisition taking an Inquisition there. It seems like in this matchup we might have a lot of Goys bouncing off of each other, but
Yeah.
the red is going to give an advantage in that scenario where you can Lightning Bolt your opponent's Goyf after they've already blocked. And Raging Ravine for Robert.
It does look like Robert Santos just has a handful of Goyfs, but Nat's got a Liliana sitting in that hand, which I don't know if he has another creature in there, but I feel like the Liliana could. I feel like Liliana might be the card you probably want in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. You can get rid of your own hand disruption spells after the early game where they're less relevant. And especially if you turn 2 Goyf, turn 3 Liliana, that's a strong place to be.
Because the Goyfs will not get through that Goyf unless there's a Lightning Bolt, as you already mentioned, or even a K command.
Could be a really interesting bluffing type attack situation here. And Future Sight versus Masters.
I am a fan of, I like the Future Sight border. I am glad that they didn't go forward with it and make it the permanent border, but I'm a purveyor of all things weird and obscure in Magic, so I'm a big fan of the Future Sight borders.
Field of Ruin here for Nat, and I bet that's gonna be a Liliana and a down tick.
It's pretty good.
I like original art. I like old borders. Future Sight is sweet. I cannot tell what is going on in that artwork though. I just like very confusing.
I think I do. I think I kind of I see what I see, and it looks like in the middle it's his mouth, and he's got a hand with a person in his hand grasping it. But I think looking at this Tarmogoyf art, not in the card frame, would probably do it a lot of justice and help with that.
I do like the newest Ultimate Masters, like Tarmogoyf art.
I do not like it.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we get the second Goyf deployed by Robert. Passes it back to Nat, and we're gonna plus. Going to discard. Get a Verdant Catacombs. Each player is discarding lands.
Another
And
Inquisition.
And what? Maelstrom Pulse, Tarmogoyf, Basic Swamp. I think that's the Guild series of lands.
Yes, it is. I think probably the GP foil ones. Maybe not. Maelstrom Pulse is very interesting in the matchup.
Huh. I kind of would have been tempted to take the Goyf. I don't quite know what Nat's leftovers are there.
Yeah, I think he's he's putting a lot of value in the Liliana. He wants to keep that around.
Okay.
And also pulsing but Pulse is like I said, it's a weird card in the matchup, because if Robert pulses Nat's Goyf, then kind of in a weird spot.
Maybe something that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Nat, you're Goyf doesn't die, your Thoughtseize goes to the graveyard.
I think he'll figure it out. There we go. I was going to go let him know, but I saw that he didn't move the Thoughtseize yet, and he definitely figured that out.
Got 3/4 Goyfs out there with a creature, land, and sorcery. Okay, yep, there we go.
There's that red coming into play. Now they're bigger.
Oh, I would have been, okay, if I was Robert, I would have been tempted to attack into the Liliana and then see if my opponent would block. Because you're effectively kind of dealing with a Liliana in that way too. I don't know. I don't think one's necessarily right, but...
Battle of the Inquisitions.
Okay, Net may be holding on to a land there in case he draws a spell that he wants to keep in hand and playing around like a Kolaghan's Command discard mode.
Yeah, and them being in top deck mode, this is where the Field of Ruin may or may not come into play, because we see Robert having the Raging Ravine out, and being able to get rid of the Raging Ravine is quite important. Oh, the Goyfs are 4/5s right now.
Okay, a Kolaghan's Command on Nat's Inset to discard, return Goyf. And there goes the land. Goyf goes back to hand. Looks like, chat, we have 1 vote for Future Sight borders, so I think we're at 3 Future Sight border versus 0 Modern Masters border, and a Dark Confidant. Ooh, that could really turn the tides here.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you do like the Future Sight border, you just can't tell what's going
on.
on.
Yeah, the art is strange. But the border's worth it to me. Was that a Maelstrom Pulse?
That he drew?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, I hope Nat understands how this...
I think it looks like he's thinking about attacking with the Goyf to maybe try and bluff an attack, because if he's going to kill the Goyf, then you might as well see if you can get...
Yeah, you gotta kill the Bob, though.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure.
Your deck is full of removal spells.
Yeah. He's thinking about it. I make...
Okay, so Robert may be thinking about Collective Brutality or something like that. But it's kind of a free block. Yeah. Oh. Well. Nat's hoping that Robert doesn't draw anything good off this, but...
I mean, he's going to get 2 looks at something. Oh, okay, yeah. I guess even if he killed the Bob, he'd still get another Bob, so...
Yeah, but it does seem like, so you're going to have a removal spell for the Dark Confidant. So if you use the Pulse on that, then you're just stuck to having to have a removal spell for a Tarmogoyf, which is, I mean, you're going to lose to the attacks, but probably have more turns to draw out to that, I would think.
Yeah, and he would have kept his Tarmogoyf around, so he still would have at least had something to block with, and he had the Field of Ruins for the Ravine, so it didn't seem like he would be in that bad of a position. But I do agree that I think the Dark Confidant was the priority target there.
I'm a player that loves drawing cards, and whenever my opponent is drawing cards, I get some existential anxiety.
Yeah. It just slips away from you so quickly when you're only drawing 1 card, and all of a sudden you look down at your hand, you have 3 cards, and your opponent has 7.
All right, Robert took 5 to go down to 10. But that Scavenging Ooze is going to be able to recoup a fair amount of life here.
Yeah, there's a few creatures for it to eat up.
Yeah, it looks like I have similar aesthetic choices for chat. When big fan of old art basics, modern basics. I don't know, the Guildlands look kind of cool, I think, but it's just a little bit too computer arty for me.
Yeah, it just I like the old basics because the text box is so basic and clean, and I just feel like the new land, especially those lands in particular, are just too much clutter on the card for me. But the real question is old bordered basics, but white border or black border.
Oh, definitely like black border, right? Like promos, old border foil basics are sweet.
I'm actually on the fence about white bordering my modern deck,
Oh
which
god.
some people think is a travesty, but when you're playing ad nauseum, it just feels so good.
Well, if all your cards are like worth under $1, I'm fine with it. Or if you're never selling your deck, but geez,
Yeah,
it's a commitment.
it is. It is. That's one of the reasons why I've never done it.
Oh, there's a land off the Dark Confidants.
That was a useful draw.
There's an attack for 4 right now. And I'm gonna block the Dark Confidant.
Colligan's command. Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
he's
we're
eating the
just
creatures.
Ooze is just gonna eat some creatures here. Interesting, giving up the Dark Confidant.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it looks like Robert possibly just wanting to push damage, knowing that Nat could potentially want to block the Dark Confidant and not block the. He would also lose his Treetop Village to the Skoos. Following it up with another threat while Nat is in top deck mode is.
Alright, so Nat's gonna instep, activate Field of Ruin, get the Ravine, so hopefully we'll only have to deal with 2 threats next turn. And seems like if you draw runner removal spells for Nat, you might be able to get back into this game. Because you have a chump block with a treetop.
Even a Goyf here would even be okay, but I think we've seen 2 or 3 of his Goyfs already. Probably, I think 2.
Alright, Tireless Tracker deployed for Nat. Robert eating Robert.
How long were you holding on to that one?
That just came to me. I'm here every Monday. It's going to be tricky because you can't activate Field of Ruin and chump block, so.
It's like you don't want to give up the if you give up the if you have to chump block both there, then it's over.
Yeah,
you don't want to give up the tracker. He just needed. How many more lands did he need? He had 3,
one more.
One more land to do. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It seemed like Dark Confidant was what ran away with that game.
Yeah. But it would have been interesting to see had Nat Maelstrom pulse the Dark Confidant initially, how different the game would have been.
So sideboard for the matchups, I know traditionally I played a lot of Modern in the heyday where it was like Jund, Pod, Twin, etc. So you had a lot of Jund on Jund matchups. Usually you board out most, if not all, of your hand disruption and just board in as many threats as you have. Also, cards like Fulminator Mage would get boarded in just because you're going to 1-for-1 the whole game and you want to build up to some 2-for-1s or be the last one standing with the threat here. Any other strategies you see for sideboard that would be different from Jund versus the Rock?
I'm actually it's been a while since I've looked at any lists of Jund, so I'm having a hard time remembering what they could play in what they could play in their sideboards. I know one of my friends does love playing Blood Moon in the Jund sideboard, but I don't think that would be good in this matchup. 3-color deck versus a 2-color deck.
I think there's maybe an additional like Liliana the Last Hope hanging out, probably some 4-mana spells, like other threats that are going to be there, and then like mass removal, anger, got Fulminator Mages, etc.
Yeah, I'm curious if either of them would be bringing in, or there's a chance that Nat could have had it in his main board. Liliana the Last Hope. She definitely doesn't kill anything, but she can bring threats back and also her ultimate can definitely run away with the game.
Yeah, I would bring in any that I have and leave in all that I have
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
I really like Fulminator Mage in this
I do
matchup.
too. Who do you think Fulminator Mage is better for?
Prob Well, Jund has Kolaghan's command, which
That's
is a
true.
sweet interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I bet Nat's running because they don't have Kolaghan's command in the rock. There's probably more Liliana the Last Hope. In Jund, I think it's usually a 3-1 or split, maybe with an additional one on the sideboard. I think the rock is maybe more of a like 3-2. But
Mhm. Yeah, and if Robert has any trackers in his sideboard, or if he has any additional value, he'll probably be bringing those in as well.
I wonder if Nat has any sleeve tattoos underneath that sweater.
We'll never know. Maybe the sleeves are his tattoos.
Oh. Yeah, the turn 1 hand disruption, turn 2 Goyf, turn 3 Liliana is sort of the dream that you want to live with these rock style decks. But yeah, it's hard to beat 3 Tarmogoyfs there.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, the Maelstrom Pulse making things quite awkward. Do you think Maelstrom Pulse, despite it being such a great removal spell, is something that's worth keeping in or taking out in this
I
matchup?
keep in all my removal
Yeah.
spells.
I do too. I just wanted to ask the question.
It is cards like that are interesting when you're playing pseudo mirror matches, though, where it can be one of your best draws and then like one of your worst.
Hmm.
Each player going to 6.
Yeah, and I wonder if Nat is running any number of Kalidas, Trader of Get, in his deck, in his main or in the sideboard.
So I talked to Nat before the matchup, and I've confirmed there are 2 in the main deck,
Okay.
which I saw a recent modern, let's see, what the Mythic qualifier on MTGO, and there was a lot of black-green in that, and most lists are playing 2 Kalidas in the main deck, which I thought is pretty sweet with all the Arclight dredge floating around. I mean, it doesn't win you those matchups, but if you're able to play it and then untap with it, you're usually in a pretty commanding position.
Yeah, and it definitely it's not only good against those, but it's also very good against dredge or any sort of creature based deck where you can just generate a large number of blockers and also exile things from their graveyard. So I love Kalidas. I think he's a great card.
I've
Think he's
definitely played it
fantastic.
several years ago. I played a fair amount of Grixis mid-range. That was a card when you were playing against Spur, and you cast it, and you're like, is it gonna live?
Yeah.
If it lives, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, it's like if you untap with it, you win in those matchups.
All right, each player on a fetch land and pass. Leads me to believe most of the hand disruption was sided out.
Yep, I was just about to say that. It's a good sign.
Down to 17.
Fetch shock. Is this on Robert's end step?
This is on Nat's main phase.
That's main phase.
Perhaps was wanting to draw another land there, so did not fetch on the end step.
Fair.
And Blooming Marsh into a Dark Confidant.
Gonna see a lightning bolt possibly.
Many options. Usually we got Fatal Push, we
yep.
got Lightning Bolts. More 1-mana removal spells for Jund.
Push him right off the edge. That fatal push. With a Bob of his own. Or a
Yep.
Goyf.
So we have instant land creature. It's a 3/4 Goyf. Oh.
Oh. Did he just draw that Bob too? Yeah, I think I thought he did.
No. Okay. Wow.
That's really good for Robert.
It's really good that they got a card for free out of Nat's hand.
Yeah.
I do not think that is a card I would board in the matchup, and I feel like this is maybe going to be a like results-oriented thinking of like, ah, I played this and it was good,
So
which like the likelihood of that happening is so low.
yeah.
Um,
I agree. I think there is some sort of merit for it. Like you like mentally you could kind of think it's like oh if he has goyfs it makes him smaller, but it'll also make your goyfs smaller. So it's kind of I feel like it would be better for Nat to bring in surgical because Robert has K command, but I still don't know if I agree with you.
yeah,
Is what I'm saying.
I think it's unquestionably a bad card to bring in from the sideboard in the
Yeah.
matchup. I'm gonna say it.
No, yeah,
Because
I think
basically it acted like a Thoughtseize right now. Sort of, kind of. I mean, you took one card out of your opponent's hand.
especially because
And Nat passing the turn.
Nat doesn't have any sort of way to bring his creatures back from the graveyard. So, like I said, for Nat, I could see Nat thinking about bringing in the surgical, but Robert
Yeah.
bringing it in is kind of an interesting choice. Except for, I guess, Liliana, the Last Hope is the only way to bring it back.
Correct.
But I would be bringing back my threats instead of my Bob.
Looks like.
Well,
What was the pickup for Nat there?
and I see an Inquisition, Fulminator Mage, I believe.
Okay, well,
So
I
it's a
think we
red
had
card.
Fulminator and Assassin's Trophy last turn, so
So
if there's an
Inquisition.
Inquisition in there.
Yeah.
So it looks like some hand disruption was left in.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. His
Yeah.
thumb is on the face, but I think it has a 1 CMC.
Seems like I'm casting that first, then uh, casting the Assassin's Trophy.
Oh, and I believe Nate has Spanish Inquisitions in his deck. So
Ha ha ha.
I remember him explicitly telling me that a while back.
Oh, wow. I, huh. I have thoughts and opinions about everything that just happened.
Yeah.
I definitely want to Assassin's Trophy that Dark Confidant
Yes, for sure.
on your end step.
And
Because
then
the whole game is about card advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gave your opponent card advantage there.
Yeah,
But then they drew another surgical extraction.
But had he got rid of the, so I guess had he Assassin's Trophy the Dark Confidant, he would not have drawn the surgical. But the surgical's kind of a moot card at this point, so it's kind of like he only drew one card. At least
Still no use of the Assassin's Trophy there.
yeah.
Maybe we were seeing it wrong and there's not an Assassin's Trophy in the hand? Okay, looks like we made a mistake there, and there was just a Field of Ruin and a dual land untapped, so Nat was not able to actually cast that trophy. So that one's on us. Probably Nat was thinking of the line of casting a trophy or the Inquisition the previous turn. Oops, we made a mistake.
what would you have cast in that situation?
I'd get rid of the Bob, I think.
Yeah.
And we get a discard and return creature off call against command and untap. Alright. I think we definitely could have cast Assassin's Trophy though now.
Yeah. And with the Goyf coming back and the Assassin's Trophy in the hand, it's starting to and not having to discard the Fulminator Mage, it looks like this is starting to slowly slip away.
It's like we have a Liliana that sticks, it's gonna uptick.
That's a good use of the surgical. I'm sorry.
Pew pew pew. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was and Assassin's Trophy on the Liliana. And seems like this Bob's just gonna run away with the game here.
Yeah. We got a Goyf coming down next turn. Definitely. Nat mentioning how Bob is the bane of his existence.
Yeah,
She's
I
a
mean
very
that's a
good
tough
card.
one because I mean I feel like Liliana the Veil is gonna plus, but then that's the interesting thing with Liliana the Veil is that its ultimate doesn't necessarily win you the game.
Yeah.
And up there we get
Yep.
some more card advantage.
Oh.
Bloodbraid into Kitchen Finks. The value.
Yeah. Yeah. I love standard back then.
Oh,
There's a Kalitas.
Haha, Cletus is laughing at the Kitchen Finks, but I'm guessing we're gonna draw a removal spell off this Bob or the draw step.
Or he already has one.
Yeah. It's a lot of cards in Robert's hand.
Yeah.
And that.
And that is all she wrote.
Okay, well, it looks like we have a fair amount of time left for this next matchup, so we're gonna grab another, or for this the rest of this round, so we're gonna grab another matchup and be back with you all momentarily.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the